Hello, welcome to the channel. My name is Koron Pierre, and if you don't know me, I'm a certified life coach and your relationship guy. Hopefully we could work together in the future. Now, before we jump into the video, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the bell icon so you get all your notifications, and like the video so more cool people could join us. All right. So now that we got that out the way, let's talk about it. Okay, so let's jump into it. This is my second love movie review. And if you haven't seen the first one, it's called A Fall from Grace, How Not to Be Catfished. That was my first video. If you did watch it, I hope you enjoyed it. So today, we will do another love movie review. And all love movie reviews is me basically reviewing a movie that is either a love movie or it has a love story within the movie, right? So this isn't your conventional movie review, whereas people sit there and they, discuss the whole movie. They tell you Easter eggs and things like that. If you're looking for that type of review, this is not going to be it. We are going to talk about the romantic angle in these movies, okay? So the movie that we will be reviewing today is called The Photographed. So let's begin with the movie synopsis. The Photographed is a 2020 American romantic drama film written by Stella Meghie. It follows the estranged daughter, played by Issa Rae, of a famous photographer who falls in love with the journalist Lakeith Stanfield, right, who is investigating her late mother's life. Chelsea Peretti, Howery, and Courtney B. Vance also star in this movie, right? So we got some really good, interesting, cool actors in this one. Okay, so you have Christina, played by Shantae Adams, right? She plays the mother of May, who, as we know, is played by Issa Rae. And then you also have Michael Block, who's played by Lakeith Stanfield. He's the love interest of May, okay? And then you have Yelan Noel. He plays young Isaac, which is Christina's love interest, right, in the past. And then you have Rob Morgan, who plays Isaac Jefferson, the older Isaac, basically, in the future, okay? So those are like pretty much the four characters I'm going to touch on, right? So Isaac has two characters. He has a young version and an older version. But those are the four main characters that we will be discussing. And there's a lot of parallels that link those characters together. So this is going to be a really interesting love story review, right? Okay, so before we go any further, this is a spoiler alert. It's a spoiler movie review. Even though it's not your conventional, it's still filled with spoilers. So let's just get that out the way. If you want to watch this movie, double back after you watch the movie and watch this video, okay? So by flipping from the present to the past, right, there's a parallel that appears here, right, that sort of collects. So like this movie has a lot of symbolism in pairs and duality, so to speak, right? So you have the past and the present, right? You have the two relationships, one in the past, one in the present, right? Sort of coincide parallel as it's being told and showed in the movie. So it's running concurrently, basically. So you see the present and the past. Okay, so for the sake of time and clarity, I'm mostly going to focus on the present story. We will also double back into the past as well, because there's some key things that we need to investigate in the past. Okay, so where I want to start this movie review is when Michael goes to Louisiana because he's working on a project, right? Remember, he's a journalist, so he is looking to write a story on Christina Ames, and she's a famous photographer from New York, right? So he wanted to do a nice picture of her life because she just passed away. So in order to get some backstory, he returns to Louisiana, which is her hometown, which she grew up in. He goes there to meet with her former love interest, Isaac, to see what information he could get out of him. So when he gets there to meet with Isaac, Isaac tells him a little bit about their love interest and how they were as a young couple growing up in Louisiana. Just a little backdrop of that. So it's like a foreshadowing scene, whereas Michael has to go to Louisiana to learn about May, right? And it's like that beginning connection. It's like Louisiana is the origin for the love stories and for the lovers in this story in particular. Also, Louisiana is the origin of it all because that's where Isaac was born and currently lives. He lived there his whole life, right? Christina was born there. And May, her parents, which we learn later in the film that Isaac is her father. So her parents' roots starts in Louisiana, and she was sort of out of touch with it because she hadn't really gone. So this going to Louisiana is sort of like symbolic, and it's a little bit of foreshadowing by the writers. Great writing in this film. And the Louisiana and New York locations shows the parallel between the two relationships, the two people in the relationships, and the battle in doing for self, which is you pursuing your career aspirations, right? You moving to another location, right? And for Christina's case, it was going to New York and becoming a famous photographer, right? Versus sacrificing your own career ambitions, goals to stay within your relationship. So that's what this movie really does a great job of illuminating the battle with that, and we're going to get into that. Okay, that's what this video is going to be about. It's going to be about that battle and how to deal within that battle. So let's go a little bit more into the movie as well. As we do these love movie reviews, we have positive things, red flag alert. So we're going to point those things out. So once again, Isaac sends Michael to New York to meet with May, because she could give him more information as to Christina Ames, Christina, the famous photographer, her background and things of that nature, maybe even show him some of his work. So he does that. And here is where the magic takes place, right? Here's where we see the two main characters meet. And so May, she is an assistant curator at the Queen's Museum. And this is where they meet. And Michael wants to get, some more information in regards to her mom, but didn't expect it to be a beautiful lady there that he really finds attractive. So, he's trying to stay focused on work and get the material he needs for his story, but he can't help but notice this beautiful woman. Okay? So, at the end of the exchange, she gives him some artwork and things of that nature. He offers her his number and she accepts it. Okay? So it's the beginning of a beautiful connection. So now we're going to jump into our first red flag. Michael's at work waiting for that call. There's a scene of him at work. He's waiting for May to call him. She doesn't call him. She's busy doing her thing. Her mother just passed away. She's trying to move, get things moving and popping, right? So he takes the initiative to find out information on her, see exactly where she's going to be, see that they're having the event at the museum, and he's going to go down there to surprise her, right? And this is the first red flag. Red flag alert. Stalkerish, a little stalker. People have their own time when they want to contact you back, or they may never want to contact you back. Bottom line is, he shouldn't have done that. That's risky. It could go well or it could go bad. We don't know. So he was taking the initiative because he was just so, the vibe was so magical. So he wanted to see what that was. This is the first positive sign. The eye contact, the chemistry, the magnetism, the attraction. This is our first positive sign. That's all beautiful. Like when you meet somebody and you're dating somebody, you want that experience. When you have that experience, when you meet somebody, that's a good sign, right? It's not the end all be all. It doesn't mean that you're going to marry them, but that is a powerful sign, right? We want to make sure that we have something here before we go further, and a good sign of that is just eye contact, how he looks at you. Do you feel comfortable? Are you enthused or excited about the prospects of moving forward with this person? Okay, so the second positive I feel is that good chemistry and the kiss, right? I felt like the kiss was a little too early, right? You just met the guy for the second time, but kissing is a good sign. Kissing is a sign of compassion, right? Kissing is a sign of love. Not that you love each other, but kissing is like something a boyfriend does with a girlfriend, right? So kissing sort of like symbolizes that, it symbolizes the romantic tie. So Christina character, right? There's a flashback scene that really shows her character. Now Christine, she's one of the artistic types, right? Who is different, who's not like the normal people from a standpoint of, okay, you graduate, well, back in those days, because this takes place, the past is like in the 80s, right? So you graduate high school and now you start your career, right? And she already graduated high school, and there was a scene with her mom, talking to her about what she's gonna do, and but Christina, she's like in this arts world where she wants to just take pictures. There's nothing else she can see for herself, right? When you're in a relationship, your passion, your dreams, how does that stack up and compare next to your partner, right? Who, like, for instance, Isaac, right? He's more of a 9-to-5er, a local Southern boy who pretty much wants the life in Louisiana. He doesn't really see much for his life outside of that place, right? And this is like the first sign of conflict, right? Because she's not really content with the normal 9-to-5 sort of lifestyle, right? And he wants that. So now you're beginning to see where they're yielding, right? And love is like unyielding. We go together, right? But you start to see the beginning of that phase. So back to the present. Okay. So I had to dibble in the past there just to give you some insight with Christina. And this leads me to the second red flag. The second red flag. This one goes to me, right? You do not invite a man to the house so soon. I see you. But so they're having a great vibe, great conversation. Once again, get some drinks. Why not? It's a storm outside. It's getting late. Oh, it's too late to go. One of those kind of things. So, an interesting conversation ensues where Michael, sort of gives a hint that he has a certain level of prowess in the bedroom. And once again, the eye contact comes. She makes a look with her eyes like, oh, okay. And then she gets up and starts dancing and then asks him to dance with her. Okay? And then what happens after that? We all know. Drinks, conversation, dancing in the house. You guessed it, right to the bedroom, right? Yes, so they have sex. And that's the third red flag. Like, too early to have sex. I did a video on this. How long you should wait before you have sex with someone you meet or you're dating. And you should wait at least 6 months. Too early to jump in the sack. You're just getting to know somebody. You have the magic. You have the chemistry. That can really mess up chemistry and magic. Sex too early can throw it off, right? And I've said this before. There's studies that show couples that wait longer before they have sex have greater, more successful relationships. They just have a better experience because they value each other from the start. They establish these parameters that, look, we're not going to focus on sex. We're going to focus on getting to know each other and developing our understanding, right? And this movie moves really fast, right? Because it's, when you're telling two stories in one film, it sort of like limits the space and time. So they're moving really fast. So after they have sex, the storm blocks out the power. Power's down, right? So now they get up, they run out the house, and they wind up going to his brother's house, which is kind of interesting. Right?
What?
I didn't know if he didn't have his own place or he lived with the brother. I don't know why he didn't bring her to his house. But that was a little weird to me. But it is the third positive, right? When a man brings you around his family, that shows that he is very serious about you. A man is not going to bring you around his nieces, his sister-in-law, forget the brother. The nieces and the sister-in-law. He's not going to bring you around those people unless he really feels that you are someone he values. But sometimes with positives, right, you get red flags. We get to our fourth red flag, and of course, this is going to be on Michael. So the scene builds where Michael's in the kitchen talking to his brother and his sister-in-law, and they're like, oh, she's nice, and they're just having a conversation about her. But in the other room, right, May is there talking to his nieces, and kids, they always are going to give you the truth. So the kids expose the fact that Michael has a fiance. Uh-oh. Yes. She's like, he has a fiance. And then the other niece, she goes, oh, but they're no longer together. To try to quell it, because she was a little bit older. The younger one she did a great job too. But here is another positive, right? Right? I guess this will be the third positive. I love how May handled that news. Because when you're dating somebody, right? At any given point in time, you could bounce. There's no commitments. So that could have been her red flag of all red flags, and she could have just dipped out, right? Because the first red flag, she gave it a pass, right? The second red flag that was on him, which was both of them, which was the sex, she also was a part of it. So, but this is the first red flag. And honestly, I feel like this is when the movie reaches its turning point. So now, here's where it gets really interesting. And I feel like here's where the struggle begins, right? When it starts getting real. So they go for this walk, and Michael, is talking to her about different things, and then she just comes out swinging for the punches. Hey, are you engaged?
Uh-oh.
Like,
Stinky.
You have a fiance? Why am I not hearing about this? He goes, oh, it's been months. Months? Then she goes, weeks, a couple of weeks. See, so it's a little dicey because I don't feel like he properly ended it. But nonetheless, she believes that he's no longer engaged. Okay, so that doesn't throw the monkey wrench. The monkey wrench, and this is the get real moment. The get real moment of the movie is when he says, I applied for a job in London. There's no guarantees I'm going to get it. This was before I met you. Because they literally just met. I don't know. If I had to put a time period, it might have been a week or two, maybe 3 weeks since they've met. So he's already applied for this job in London, and he's just waiting for them to get back to him because he wants to get up out of there. That's his dreams, right? So you see the parallel there between Christina and Michael, both wanting more, both wanting to leave with the area that they're in, to sort of spread their wings, right? And in Michael's case, he did it before he met May. He didn't know that he was going to meet her. Okay, so now that we know where Michael and May stand and their sort of pending intersection where it yields, we're going to go back to the past now, right? Okay, so there's a scene where Christina and Isaac are together spending time. And Christina, being the artist and the dreamer that she is, and she's like a bird in a cage in Louisiana, she goes, hey, I want to take a trip to New Orleans. Let's go. Let's make it happen. Come on, right? So they go to New Orleans. And when they get there, it's fun. It's a drive. It's a road trip, whatever. They're drinking and they're doing what young people do. Eventually, it leads to them having sex. Okay? And, right? It leads to them having sex. And that's probably where May was conceived, to be honest. That's what it seemed like when you watch the movie. Okay, so fast forward. She meets with Isaac again, and then she tells him, listen, how about we move to New York? I want to pursue photography. I want to go. I want to get out of here. I need some more for my life, right? I want more, right? So he goes, I don't want to go to New York. I can't go to New York, right? And it's this thing with people in the South in New York. Like, it's like, oh man, New York is just that's just too much. For some reason, I don't know why it's like that with some people from the South, right? But she's like, I want to go to New York. So he's like, no, he doesn't want to go. So when he tells her that he doesn't want to go, she's like, you know what? I'm going. I'm out.
What?
She goes. Bam. She just leaves cold turkey. The fifth red flag of the movie goes to Christina. Because she leaves for New York and doesn't tell Isaac. That is just cold turkey. So by Christina leaving to go to New York, right? This shows the struggle that I was talking about earlier in the review of pursuing your own goals, your own passion, your own career, whatever it is, versus sacrificing for the betterment of a relationship, right? She chose her self goals and passions over sacrificing that to stay in Louisiana with Isaac. Now, there is nothing wrong with wanting to leave Louisiana. I just felt like she did it the wrong way by not telling Isaac, look, man, I'm out of here, right? You close the door on the chapter, right? But it makes it bad because she possibly is pregnant. So you're leaving while pregnant and you're just out of there, cold turkey. So then the next scene, she shows her getting established in New York, setting up an apartment, setting up a phone line. She's lit, right? While she's in her new apartment, she gets a phone call from one of her friends in the South, and they tell her that her mom has passed away. And I know I didn't talk much about her mom. Like I said, this is not a full-fledged just movie review. We're focusing on love stories, right? So she goes back down and to see her mom and, you know, pay her respects to her mom. And so then while she's down there, she asks for Isaac. How's Isaac? And she's like, the friend is like, oh, he's married. She's been gone for 3 months, mind you. He's married. What the world is that? I mean, that's a red flag on top of a red flag too, but he's married already. He moved on, right? And you know what? I'm going to give that a red flag. Red flag number 6 goes to Isaac for moving on too quick. He moved on too quick. You got to close your doors before you leave and go into the hall. You can't just leave the door open. He didn't even find out what happened to her. He said, forget it. I'm just going to get me a new wife. So that's his red flag. He got to own that. He gets a red flag too. Everybody gets a red flag in this movie. We're not giving nobody no passes, okay? He should have seen what was up. He had baggage. You going into a marriage with baggage? Come on, bro. But this was back in the 80s. So, you know, they moved differently. So Christina, she goes back to New York now that she sees that Isaac is married. And she's like, forget him. I'm just going to truck on, right? Pregnant and all. Pregnant and all. So about 4 years go by. 4 years. Now she has a 3-year-old kid or a 4-year-old kid, whatever. I'm not sure when the baby was born. They didn't really give ages, right? So she decides, I have to go back to Louisiana, right, to sell my mom's property, right? When she gets to Louisiana, she sells the property, and guess who confronts her while she's there with her daughter? Isaac. This is like the telling sign and story changing moment in the story because the 3 characters are together, right? 3 of the 4, right? Christina, Isaac, May. She's like, well, you know, you have a wife. And he's like, well, you just left. You didn't tell me, right? Both of them were wrong. Like I said, I gave them both red flags for that. But here's where Christina gets another red flag. Because he offers to drive them to the, you know, bus station so they could go back to New York. And she does not tell him that This baby is yours. She just goes. And that sort of closes the past arc. Of course, so when we go back to the present, we're going to go back there with a red flag. Red flag number 8 goes to Michael. He gets the red flag because he gets the job in London and he chooses not to tell May. She calls him, and she calls him because during reading one of the letters, right, she finds out that Isaac's her father. And she goes back to Louisiana to meet with him and, you know, connect with him. That's her dad. That's her real dad. And so she goes home to Louisiana. That's also a foreshadowing. Having to go back to Louisiana for unfinished business. Right? I need to get to know my father. So she does that. He basically pulled a Christina. You know, he was not going to tell her that he got the job. So, in classic going back to Louisiana style movie techniques, I guess, or movie tactics, right? Every character has to go back to Louisiana. So guess what? Michael has to go back to Louisiana.
What?
Why? Because he has to finish the story on Christina. So it's like interesting how the 4 characters are sort of connected, right? And the parallels, right? Each character is connected, right? And so when he gets back to Louisiana, guess who he finds at Isaac's house? May! She's like, hey, I've been calling you. What happened? Put him on the spot. You know? Put him on the spot. And he's like, oh, yeah, you know, I've been meaning to call you. You know, he hit her with the okey doke, you know, the Brooklyn magic, you know, oh, yeah, you know, one of those type things, right? Like, sort of like, you know, brush that off pretty smooth and pretty cool. So when he brushed it off pretty smooth and pretty cool, they're like, hey, let's just go hang out. You know, she's like, let's go hang out. So eventually he tells her. She is crushed. But she doesn't really show it. But it really hurt. I mean, because you're getting to know this person. You give this person your body. You have the magical connection. Everything's magic. This is why you should wait. Wait. Hold off. Slow it down. Take your time. There's no rush. And if you feel the need to rush, maybe this is not the right person at the right time. You know, or it could be the right person at the wrong time. Either way, take your time when you're dealing with people. Now, the one positive thing I will give him, right? Positive, I guess this is like the 4th positive. He told her. He didn't all out pull a Christina. He wanted to, but he did tell her that he was leaving. That, you got to give him credit for that. You have to. So they, you know, they say, hey, we're just going to, you know, be friends, you know. Hey, I'm going. He was forthright and told her that he was going. So, hey, you know, we could be friends, I guess, right? So now he goes to London. And you know what? I said that New York and Louisiana, sort of past, present. New York is like present. Louisiana's past, right? London is the future. So you had the past, present, future. So that sort of completes the arc in that regard, right? Past, present, future. So, past, present, future, right? So that completes the arc in that regard. Now, he's in London and he is like toe up because he's thinking about this woman. He's like, oh man, did I make the right choice? Oh. What? So one day, he's in the office and she sends him a letter. And in the letter, there's Kendrick Lamar tickets. And it's like, you know, meet me at the show, right? So he's happy, he's excited. So he goes to the show and it's a wonderful connection. The eye contact, the nonverbal cues, you see it. Because it always starts with him looking for her and noticing her from a distance. All the scenes start like that. Shows genuine, like, fondness, right? so to speak, for lack of better term. But he's like, oh, I miss you, and she's like, oh, I miss you too, and we could do the long distance thing, and
Wow.
So it's wonderful. And that's pretty much how it ends, right? It doesn't end with no promises. And I really, I really love the ending, right? I had to grow to love it because I was kind of critical in this movie, but I grown to appreciate the ending because I feel as though, the typical endings are man doesn't take job, stays. The ending was actually optimistic and showed us that we can, pursue our dreams and have love too. That's what it's all about. That's what I felt the writer and director was trying to say, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be the conflict, right? But you have to know what you want first. And yes, there were red flags and there were some positive things, right? But we have to be able to do better, man, and really go after what we want, right? If you're dating someone, not in a serious relationship, not married, or you don't have kids, right? If you're dealing with this person and you want to take a job in Japan, take the job in Japan. That's more important. Establishing yourself. You have to establish yourself before you establish something with somebody else. But if you are married, and this is the case, right? Now you have to work together. You have to come to a conclusion that both of you guys are willing to accept. It may be, hey, go for a couple of years and we'll follow you, right? There are families that do that. The key thing is doing it together. So, in closing, we really unpacked it. I mean, we've seen a lot of lessons. We've learned that it's good to wait before we have sex. Give us some time, right? Really take the time to know another person, right? If you're faced with big decisions, right, it doesn't have to be a battle between your passion, your dreams, and this relationship. It doesn't have to be that way. And I think that's what this movie was trying to say. Like, hey, you can do both, right? But just always keep it real, right? Be considerate. Be forthright. Let the other person know what's going on. Well, that's all I have. Until the next love movie review, have a great day. Thank you for watching the video. And if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel so you can see more videos. Also, hit that like button so more people can check out the video. And also, comment below if you have any questions or concerns regarding this video. I will respond. So until next time, stay blessed.